All right, let's welcome into Straight Fire a new face. You know how we do up in here. We try to get some new guys on the rise. Let's welcome in Tyler Dragon, USA Today, covers the NFL. Tyler, first of all, welcome to Straight Fire. Great to have you. But it's starting to be a downtime in the NBA, the playoffs winding down, the finals, that's all that's left. And then we turn our attention back to football. And it's weird because I'm looking at like the quarterback battles in OTAs and around. There just aren't many right now, right? Other than Cleveland. Maybe Indy, New Orleans. Nothing real sexy out there, right?
Well, Indianapolis for sure has a quarterback competition. You would think Anthony Richardson should
Yeah.
win that job if he's the quarterback who he thinks he is, and whoever first round draft pick, he should win that job. But yeah, in Cleveland, it's going to be interesting because a lot of people think maybe it's Joe Flacco, the old wily veteran, going to win the job. Kenny Pickett, maybe a reclamation project he learned under the wings in Philadelphia, or Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel. And to me, if I'm the Cleveland Browns GM head coach, I'm giving Shedeur Sanders every reason to start. To me, he was the
Wow.
second best quarterback in this year's NFL draft. I talked to a lot of people around the NFL, a lot of sources, and they were telling me that there were multiple reasons why Shedeur fell down in the draft. And probably last in that list was his talent. So overall, I do think he's probably the best quarterback in that room. And that's not saying much because it's not a vaunted quarterback competition in Cleveland at all. So, yeah, I think those are the two teams with the biggest quarterback competitions heading into OTAs and minicamp.
So that's weird. So I was all about Shador ahead of the draft. I was like, you got to take him in the top five. I would have taken him second.
Yeah.
And then he plummets to the fifth round, and you're like, whoa, there have to be red flags we don't know about. Nothing has totally emerged. But here's my thing. If all these people you talk to love him and think he's so talented, like, why wouldn't they draft him earlier? Like, even if you're like, hey, we could use a backup, we'll take him third round. Like, if that's the case, if so many people loved him, why didn't anyone take a chance on him before the fifth?
Well, there are a lot of off the field things like his personality. He got a larger than life personality, him and his father. And you look, when you seeing all the rookies that got drafted in this year's draft, who's getting the most limelight? Not Cam Ward, it's Shedeur Sanders. And no matter where he's going to be picked. So if you wherever you're going to draft him, he's going to take away from a lot of spotlight. Then there's the Deion Sanders effect. You know, his dad is out there. Maybe his dad wants to be a head coach in the NFL in a couple years. Then a lot of teams were turned off that he did not participate in NFL Combine nor the Senior Bowl or
Right.
the East West Shrine Game. And so when you're looking at all that, it was a domino effect of a lot of things that happened to Shedeur. Now, his film, I'm not going to say that this year's quarterback class was one of the best that we've seen in recent memory, or Shedeur Sanders is a bona fide star in this league. To me, his NFL comp is Teddy Bridgewater. Uh, Teddy Bridgewater was a pretty good starter before he injured his knee. Pro Bowl type quarterback, fringe Pro Bowl type quarterback, but you can win games. A game manager knew how to deliver the ball with accuracy and precision. Shedeur Sanders is like that. Now, with him with that baggage, though, people probably wouldn't have drafted Teddy Bridgewater as high if he had a lot of that off the field hoopla and a lot of scrutiny, a lot of headlines. So that played a role in it. But Shedeur had a really good quote during minicamp. He pretty much said he doesn't have to prove people wrong. He has to prove himself right. So if he's the quarterback who he believes he is, and if he proves himself right, he should be the starting quarterback, especially that Deshaun Watson is probably going to be out for all this coming season with his Achilles injury. So
Yeah.
I do believe when it's all said and done, Shedeur is going to win that starting job.
But here's my thing. So Kevin Stefanski knows quarterbacks, obviously, very sharp offensive mind, coach of the year, all that fun stuff. He decided to take Dylan Gabriel earlier than anybody had him projected. Okay. Like I do mock drafts for Fox Sports. Everybody doing their mock drafts. They were all way wrong on Dylan Gabriel. The guy who's won coach of the year, he wanted Dylan Gabriel. And he got him 2 rounds before Shedeur. To me, that's a clear sign. That's the guy I want to run my offense. So from my perspective, it's like, I think not only does Shedeur have to pass Dylan Gabriel, but he's also got to pass one of the vets, either Pickett or Flacco. My guess is Pickett gets flipped sometime when somebody gets injured before the season at quarterback and somebody gets Pickett. But like, don't you think Shedeur has to beat out Gabriel? And
Oh
it's a
yeah.
tall order given that Stefanski clearly liked Gabriel.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong, it's a competition. Now, I'm not saying that he's a starter right now or
Hmm.
has doesn't have his work cut out for him. When even rookie mini camps started, Dylan Gabriel was the first one up getting those reps before Shedeur Sanders. So if Shedeur is gonna win that starting job, he'll have to have earned it. And I just believe that he is going to. When I look at Dylan Gabriel, when you look at his film in college, yes, he was a productive quarterback. He was pretty good, but Shedeur Sanders' tape is night and day better. And then Kenny Pickett. Now, unless Kenny Pickett got improved tremendously, I believe Shedeur is better than him. And Joe Flacco is what Joe Flacco is. He's a shell of himself at this day and age, and he's past his prime. Yes, he still has a big arm. Yes, he can still win you a few games, but he's a bridge quarterback at this point, a short-term answer. So I really do think it's going to be Shedeur. I mean, it may not be week one,
Hmm.
maybe not even week two, but give it to week four. I'm willing to bet you, Jason, by week four, Shedeur is going to be the starter.
So your guess, who starts more games this year, Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel?
Shedeur, I'm positive of that.
Do you think over under Shedeur starts? I'll give it like 2.5.
Over, way over,
Really?
way over. I think Shedeur starts at least 6, 7 games this year.
Wow.
Six, seven
Okay.
games.
I get that's bold. And I like the bold takes, but I just can't get over the fact that Kevin Stefanski is the one calling the shots, and he didn't like Shedeur, or he would have taken him early or before Dylan
That's
Gabriel.
a
That's
strong word. Didn't like him because they wanted to draft him if a coach just flat out didn't like him.
well,
That's a strong word.
well,
Now
I say
he
didn't
may
like because like you had the opportunity at 2, and then in the second round, third, so many opportunities, and then there's the take of, hey man, he took Dylan Gabriel. What if the owner said, hey man, we got to take Shedeur. We could use the pop. It's going to get us social media. I'm sure you see. Ain't nobody talking about the New Orleans Saints quarterback battle or the Colts. It's all Shedeur and the Browns. So I wonder if Haslam was like, let's just draft this guy just simply for the buzz and all that extracurricular stuff. Like owners love that. Coaches, they don't like it as much.
But if Kevin Stefanski liked Dylan Gabriel so much, why did the Browns draft Shedeur a couple rounds after him? You
But
can go to the reverse of that as well. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Now, I will say this: Dylan Gabriel is going to get just as much of an opportunity to play as Shedeur Sanders because, well, based on what I'm hearing out of Cleveland, Gabriel has gotten reps before Shedeur, especially
oh yeah,
during rookie minicamp. We'll see what happens during mandatory minicamp and when OTAs go on to phase 3. But it's when you just simply just look at the tape, do the eye test, Jason. You cannot tell me that Shedeur is not a better
right. No.
quarterback than Dylan.
I would have taken Shedeur early. I'm just saying I look at the coach and his decision to me is more of a tell than I don't care what the tape says, what you and I think or other teams. Like Stefanski's the one calling the shots, and it's like he must love Gabriel, which I don't totally get. And I had a guest on, I think it was Tom Pelissaro, NFL Network. He's like, listen, Stefanski loves the guy's character, quick release, quick read of the defense. Like that's the kind of guy he wants. And now coaches, we struggle with the quarterback position. And I'm going to ask you something about this list in a minute, but like, I don't know these coaches, man. They're weird. They're different animals, if I could just say that.
Yeah, there were several factors that played out that made Shedeur Sanders fall, though. And, like we mentioned before, it was some of the off-field things, whether it's his personality, whether it's all the attention that comes with his name, whether he turned off people were not competing at the combine, the East-West Shrine game. So there were multiple factors. Yes, talent was among them, But what I heard, that was way down the list.
I'm curious. Do you think if, let's just say, week one, Kenny Pickett's a starter, Dylan Gabriel's the backup, Shedeur's inactive, do you think Dion will put a comment out there in the media? Because at the Colorado game, they're going to ask Dion about his son. Do you think he'll be able to hold back? Or will he just be like, man, that's garbage. The Browns are screwing him. And that's the kind of thing that may have steered teams away from him.
I've never known Dion to hold back. So,
hey, Dad, put a cork in it. Come on.
Yeah, I would imagine he would say something. He might dial it back a little bit. Maybe he won't call out the organization or the coach, but to me, he'll probably have something to say.
I don't love that. All right, let's move on. So sticking with quarterbacks real quick. I got into a big discussion with Cowherd about this. So Pro Football, everybody does a list of the best quarterbacks. But the weird thing is, everybody agrees that there's 4 guys head and shoulders above the rest of the league: Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, and Joe Burrow. Those guys are the 4 elite. I don't think anybody would argue that there's someone in that group that's not in there. But since you do top 5s, having just watched Jalen Hurts again get to the Super Bowl, win the MVP, I look at Hurts' numbers. He wins from the pocket. He wins with his legs. I think Hurts is a clear 5th best quarterback in the league. And I'm getting all kinds of pushback from people. Well, he was a 2nd-round pick, and some games he throws for 97 yards. And I'm just like, I don't get the Jalen Hurts dislike. Do you have a guy who is right on the heels of those big 4? Or maybe you have somebody who just cracks that big 4 and makes it a big 5?
It's funny because I get asked this question a lot. A couple years ago, I would have said, without a doubt, it's Justin Herbert. But Justin Herbert's kind of slipped a little bit. No playoff wins. That last playoff loss in Houston was a black stain in his career. He's going to have to come back from that. C.J. Stroud, I think before this, at the start of the regular season, especially coming off that rookie campaign, you could put him at 5. What about Jayden Daniels?
I can't off 1 year. I don't know.
To me, it's probably Jayden Daniels and then Jalen Hurts. Jayden Daniels, in my opinion, is better than Jalen Hurts right now, based on what he did. But yes, he has to do it again this coming season. Let's see what he does in year 2, his sophomore year, year 3. It's hard to knock Jalen Hurts, though. Now he's a Super Bowl champion. He's really outperformed Patrick Mahomes twice in Super
100%.
Bowls. But he does have a lot of help around him. Now, if Patrick Mahomes has Saquon Barkley in the backfield, and that offensive line, who knows what he can do? Patrick Mahomes only lost 2 Super Bowls because his offensive lines have failed him. So let's give credit where credit's due. Jalen Hurts does have a lot of talent around him, arguably the best receiving corps in the NFL, especially in the NFC. Top 5 tight end, one of the best defensive tackles in all football. So he has a lot of support. That Howie Roseman built that team beautifully. The Eagles are loaded even again this year. But I would probably say Jayden Daniels 5.
Yeah.
And then C.J. Stroud, followed by Hurts.
Stroud. Oh my God. The guy took 63 sacks last year. What?
Do you see that offensive line?
Offensive line was terrible, but they do this charting of eating sacks, and Stroud, it was responsible for a lot of those. He didn't have a great year. I gotta say the one thing I don't like is this, and I'm not saying you necessarily did it or Cowherd, but in general, if you're a 1st-round pick, you seem to get the benefit of the doubt. All I hear with Hurts and Brock Purdy are, well, look at the roster. I mean, look at, they got a stacked deck. And I'm like, okay, well, if Patrick Mahomes is drafted by the Saints or some other bad organization, is he Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he got Andy Reid. Like, that's not bad. Justin Herbert, I love him. I went to Chargers, took my kids to the Chargers minicamp. It was awesome. Like, Herbert's awesome. Like you said, he doesn't have a playoff win. He just got gifted Jim Harbaugh and then vomited all over himself in the playoff game on the road. And it's like, I get Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs. He's phenomenal. Every year they improve the roster, and it's the same story every postseason. He doesn't get it done. And so I know Mark Andrews with the drop. Okay. But like, it is weird. These 1st-round quarterbacks seem to get the extra benefit of the doubt. Whereas Brock Purdy could win the Super Bowl this year, win the MVP. And they're still, well, look at the team. He's got Kyle Shanahan. I'm like, God, we agree Kyle Shanahan's good. What has Kyle Shanahan won? Tyler. Like, he's a great coach. What does he want? It's just these discussions are fun and they're subjective, but it always seems to like Hurts is dinged because he was a second round pick.
Well, I'm even dinging the top five. All these quarterbacks have, black marks on their career. Now, and it's with the exception probably Mahomes, because really his two losses I don't even put on him. But Josh Allen's never won the big one. You've mentioned Lamar. The Ravens always flame out. AFC Championship game, divisional round. Joe Burrow, he's kind of have an injury prone bug on him now. He has to remain healthy. Now, when he is healthy, he's productive, but the Bengals missed the playoffs last year. So that fifth spot is fluid. And right now, coming off of this past season, Jayden Daniels impressed me probably more than any other new coming quarterback, probably the best rookie quarterback I have seen in the NFL in recent memory. So that's why I have him at that five spot, and then C.J. Stroud at six. And seven is not bad. Seventh best quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. If you're top 10 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, you can win the Super Bowl with that.
Stafford obviously has it's just weird that like Hurts has a Super Bowl win. He was phenomenal. Stafford has a game-winning drive in the Super Bowl. He's outstanding. It makes you wonder with Stafford, what if he ever had coaching or a team in Detroit? He was surrounded by ineptitude, some of the worst defenses ever. I just have a hard time putting Stroud up there. And Jayden Daniels, it was one season. Tyler, come on.
But did you see that one season, though?
It was incredible. I mean, it was phenomenal.
He went to the NFC Championship game in that one season.
Yeah, I mean, I know they got smashed by Hurts by like 30, but nevertheless, you're right. Listen, Daniels was tremendous. I would have him top 10, but I know it's just a tough one for me. All right, let's move on from quarterbacks here for a sec. Do you have, and I know, again, it's summer, there's a lot to go. Is there a team that didn't make the playoffs in each conference who maybe you look at this year and it's like, that's a team I'm buying? Because we know every year, I think there's like 3 or 4 new playoff teams every year. So is there someone that you're eyeing as like, ooh, keep an eye on that team?
Well, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say the 49ers in the NFC.
Yeah.
People are overlooking the 49ers. Yes, Deebo Samuel's gone. They lost a lot of talent on defense, but if Christian McCaffrey comes back healthy, you got George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk comes back healthy, Trent Williams. I mean, when those guys are on the field and now you re-sign Brock Purdy to a mega extension, the 49ers, check their record. They're almost unbeatable when those guys are healthy on the field. Yes, that defense has to gel. Yes, Nick Bosa has to remain healthy as well. But the 49ers, they're getting overlooked. And the AFC, just mentioned it, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Burrow, as long as he can stay healthy, they have the best receiving corps in all of football, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That defense is what everybody's going to be looking at. Can that defense not be historically bad? Can you make some stops, 2 or 3 stops a game? Because we all know that offense is going to score 25, 30 points a game. They're going to be in the end zone. They're going to be a high-powered, potent offense with Joe Burrow and those guys at receiver. But if that defense can just improve a little bit, they got Golden, the defensive coordinator, Notre Dame, so you would think he can have some tweaks to improve that defense. But yeah, I think the Bengals are a team to look out for in the AFC, and they're a playoff team as well.
I don't disagree at all. Although they got to fix that Hendrickson thing, man. Without him, I don't know if you saw the numbers. Without him on the field, they're the worst defense in the league in multiple categories. Like they're bad. We can wrap up with this, and this is a tough one because like it is college football, but he's an NFL legend, and that's his Bill Belichick stuff. So here's the problem, Tyler. It clicks through the roof. People are obsessed. Oh, shocker! With a 73-year-old dating some hot 24-year-old, right? They're into that. And you do it on a podcast, you write about it, you talk about it, people are into it. I got to be honest, I don't know if he's ever going to coach in the NFL again. I know that a lot of people were like, oh, he's too old, he's too controlled, freaky. Do you think it's over for Belichick? It strikes me as weird that we give so many quarterbacks multiple chances. Bill Belichick's the winningest coach in NFL history when it comes to Super Bowls and success. Are you kind of surprised he's not coaching in the NFL this year?
It is funny you ask because this offseason, I feel like, especially now, my timeline's all like Stephon Diggs, Cardi B, and Bill Belichick and his girlfriend. So, so it's like, man, this is the NFL content right now during this time of year. But I mean, to Bill Belichick, I think a lot of NFL GMs and owners kind of look at him and say, is he past his prime coaching wise? Because it really ended kind of ugly in New England. It did not end well. He really hires a lot of guys that he knows cronyism. I mean, he hires his guys that will do the Bill Belichick type Patriots way, and
Yeah.
teams are kind of moving on from that. These offenses, these offensive coordinators are more innovative. Defenses are becoming more innovative. And Bill Belichick has that, old school Bill Parcells type of head coaching style. And I just think a lot of these franchises are kind of moving on and transitioning out of that because when you're 70 plus years old as a head coach, a lot of these times these athletes kind of tune you out. A lot
Yeah.
of these NFL athletes are 21, 22, 23, and your head coach is not 10 years older than you, not 20 years older, 50 years older than you. Like he's like your great grandpa's age almost. So there becomes a time where these head coaches their voice does not resonate in the locker room as it once did before. Even when you're Bill Belichick, arguably the best coach in NFL
Mm,
history.
that's interesting. So, do you have any read on how he'll do it in North Carolina?
College football has changed so much.
Oh
I
yeah.
do think the Bill Belichick's name still has that mystique, and he still, even though his coaches are not very successful as head coaches, they are successful, coordinators and assistant coaches. I do think they'll be competitive. Now, are they going to be a college football playoff team? No,
Mm,
but they'll be better than they were
yeah.
in the previous years
Yeah.
when under other regimes.
Do you kind of blush when they're like, "Hey, can you write about Belichick and the girl?" Are you like, "I don't know"? Because when they come to me and they're like, "Hey, how about this segment?" I'm like, "I don't want to touch it, guys. I just don't. I don't like." Again, I have nothing. Bill Belichick. I'm sure they're happy. I just find it a little weird to talk about.
I do not like talking about players' personal lives, so I rarely touch the Bill Belichick, the Stephon Diggs, Cardi B. I don't
Well, wait,
really
hold
do
on. What's the Cardi B thing? I know that I
that.
saw the digs on a boat with all these chicks, and he's offering them some
Well,
sort of.
he's dating Cardi B now, and he was
Oh,
on the boat with Cardi B, but he was with some chicks at the time when Cardi B was somewhere else and passed along a substance that nobody
yeah, I
really
saw
knows
that.
what it was. So yeah, that's
Yeah, Stephon Diggs. I'm sure that Vrabel absolutely loves that
yeah.
in New
And
England.
he's not at OTAs, by the way. He's on the boat, passing around
I'm sure
whatever.
he's rehabbing
Yeah,
with the IG baddies, as they
yeah,
say.
that's the way to rehab. Maybe quick recovery.
Yeah, certainly. All right, Tyler Dragon, USA Today. Great stuff, man. Thanks for taking the time, buddy.
Thanks for having me on. Have a good one.